thevoicebeforethevoid.net. Mystery Hill. From Ancient Mysteries by Rupert Furneaux.
A mystery, a baffling and somewhat annoying mystery. That was the comment of one of the many tourists who each summer visit Mystery Hill, North Salem, in the American state of New Hampshire. I try not to think about it, the man told the official guide. He doubted if we shall ever learn the truth. Other equally exasperated sightseers and investigators have echoed his words. Mystery Hill lies 40 miles north of Boston and 25 miles from the Atlantic coast. Sprawling over an acre of woodland are 22 grotesque, cell-like structures built of unmortared granite rocks, some huge and heavy. Another site visitor, Vincent Fagen, assistant professor of architecture at Notre Dame University, was perplexed at what he found. He thought, "The big things are too little, the small things so big." There was at one and the same time gigantic confusion and childish disorder, deep cunning and rude naivete. Despite half a century of investigation, no one has advanced an acceptable solution to the puzzle posed by these beehive buildings and passages which seem to ramble over the hillside in chaotic incoherence. No one knows who built them or why. The theories range from a Bronze Age structure, a Viking settlement, a nomadic Indian shelter, a colonial homestead, and a robber's hideout. They are attributed to Phoenicians, Norsemen, Irish monks, colonial farmers, and Jonathan Pattee. Pattee lived on the hill from 1826 to 1848. His farmhouse burned down in 1855. The stone structures became called Pattee's Caves, and the legend developed that he had built them with the aid of his 5 lusty sons. Pattee was reputed to have been a mail robber, a fugitive from justice, the operator of an illicit whiskey still, a link in the Underground Railroad which smuggled fugitive slaves to Canada, and a harmless Yankee eccentric who created the structures, just for the hell of it. Sober investigation has disclosed that Pattee had one son and was a prominent, wealthy, and highly respected member of the community. He had been trustee of the village funds and had donated a house to serve as a school. None of his descendants, who still live locally, have been able to explain the caves, other than to express their total disbelief that Pattee could have built such useless structures. He may have used them as a sheep pen. One piece of evidence to be mentioned later indicates that they were in existence long before Jonathan Pattee came to live at North Salem. Following his death, the hill was ransacked by builders. They are believed to have quarried and carted away several tons of stone. The site became a children's playground. William B. Goodwin came to North Salem in 1936. He had been told by a friend that the structures seemed to resemble the megalithic ruins of Europe and the Mediterranean. Goodwin was an insurance executive and a keen amateur antiquarian. He was obsessed by the belief that Irish monks had crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. He bought Mystery Hill, determined to prove that its stone structures had been a monastery. Hearty and voluble, Goodwin became belligerent and angry when his theory was laughed at by eminent archaeologists. He went blindly on, destroying in his excessive enthusiasm every clue which might have proved his theory or any other. He cast aside any object which failed to tally with his pet theories. He spent the rest of his life in a futile effort to prove that he was right, and in acrimonious argument with people who offered advice. The structures descend in steps on the eastern side of the hill, and are intermixed with low stone walls, lacking shape or direction. Some of the caves are dwarfish in size, measuring 2 to 3 feet high. All are built by the most primitive method known to man, by the piling and fitting of stones which are held together by their own weight and skillful arrangement. Where they are roofed, the primitive corbelled method of vaulting was adopted, whereby slabs are laid horizontally, not radially as in the true arch, each progressing a little further beyond this one below. That results in 2 converging walls. Looking from the top of the hill, the visitor sees an artificial ramp, banked and walled, facing east. Below is a pit, in its center a huge flat stone, having the profile of a bell, and weighing 4 tons. It stands on 4 squat legs, and around its edge runs a clearly defined gutter leading to a spout. This sacrificial stone, as it is called, is the greatest enigma of all. Even Goodwin admitted that it denied his Irish monks theory. He shoveled away the debris which filled the space beneath, destroying every possible clue to the shrine's origin. Below the sacrificial stone lies the main structure, a covered passage leading to a chamber. Both contain enigmatic features. 6 feet within the entrance is a stone ledge, just wide enough to hold a person lying with knees drawn up. At the farther end, the passage widens into a chamber 22 feet long and 6.5 feet in height, and shaped like a Y. It also contains a seat, and, even stranger, a shaft leading horizontally through 8 feet of stones to the open air, beneath the sacrificial stone. Voice tests show that it is highly resonant. Was it the speaking tube of an oracle? Did it enable the priest, concealed within the chamber, to speak in an eerie voice to the devotees grouped around the altar? One of the arms of the Y appears to have been constructed to act as a chimney. A louvered stone is believed to have acted as a damper. Further down the slope is another crudely constructed artificial cave, less than 3 feet high. It is reached by a passage roofed with heavy slabs of stone, from which open several other low chambers. Some investigators believe that they have detected rude carvings on these stones, which appear to depict a bull and a horned gazelle. Elsewhere, inscriptions resembling the Phoenician alphabet have been observed. These discoveries are thought to be fanciful. The stones, some of which weigh 20 tons, used to form these structures, have all been dressed with crude tools. One slab has been pierced through, leaving a very rough hole. Some investigators believe that these buildings were erected to a measure close to the ancient cubit. 2 other features have excited interest. From the chambers, 2 stone drains, one 60 feet and the other 40 feet long, descend the hillside. They were constructed presumably to prevent the buildings from becoming flooded. 2 wells have also been found. One is 18 feet deep and was constructed with 3 curved sides and one straight, to accommodate a ladder, it has been suggested. Both are filled with water and debris. One is thought to lead to a subterranean chamber. A stone locked in the decayed stump of a tree dates the structure prior to 1769, the earliest date by when the tree could have taken root. It belongs to a species of pine which grows at a rate of 1 inch every 6 years, and was in existence long before Jonathan Patay built his farmhouse above one of the structures, which served him as a cellar. Apart from the tree stump, which was too decayed for its rings to be counted, little has been found to date the site precisely. Gary Vasilius, who investigated the ruins in 1955 under the supervision of Dr. Julius Bird of the American Museum of Natural History, sank 10 test holes. He found 7,000 artifacts, the majority of which belonged to the Point Peninsula or Owasco Indian cultures, which are dated about 1000 BC. A stone hoe seem to have derived also from this archaic period. Old turf levels, excavated in 1969, yielded a similar date by carbon-14 chronology. Frank Glynn, president of the Connecticut Archaeological Society in 1958, unearthed some ancient-looking pottery of sun-baked clay. He believed it to be unknown in North America, but common in the eastern Mediterranean. Other artifacts seem to date from the early European settlement period, thus implying 2 levels of occupation, one Indian and the other colonial. Similar stone structures, containing small corbelled chambers dug into hillsides, have been found in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Connecticut. Some of these are known to have been built by early colonial settlers. These structures may have served as rude shelters, while the farmers found time to build regular houses. Others may have been storage or sheep shelters, or even slave quarters. The colonial farmers reached the valley beneath Mystery Hill soon after 1730. Andrew E. Rothovius, an experienced American archaeologist, familiar with Eastern Mediterranean cultures, who has sent me reports and articles about Mystery Hill, describes the site as one to drive an archaeologist frantic with frustration to think how much precious evidence may have been carelessly destroyed. Goodwin, he says, restored many of the structures, which in 1936 were partly submerged underground. Mystery Hill is now owned by the Early Site Foundation. It has been largely avoided by archaeologists who fear, it is thought, being taken for cranks. These massive stones were not assembled for fun. What could have been their purpose? The sacrificial stone suggests a pagan cult center, the oracle a shrine. No early colonial farmer, it is claimed, could have anticipated future discoveries of oracles in ancient lands. The speaking tube suggests parallels with the temples of Malta and Greece. Phoenicians are another choice. But why would Irish monks, Maltese temple builders or Phoenician traders have marched inland for 25 miles to construct such a building. The local woodland Indians would hardly have allowed foreigners to establish themselves in their midst. It would be strange indeed had they constructed these structures. The Indians north of Mexico were not builders in stone. Hugh O'Neill Henkin, curator of European archaeology at the Peabody Museum, Harvard University, calls Mystery Hill one of the enigmas of archaeology. In one sense, it is unique. It is one of the few places in the world with a do-it-yourself mystery open to the public. And you find it referenced frequently in weird fiction. Part of what they call Lovecraft country in New England, where my friend Paul moved to and was so excited because he was going to be in Lovecraft country. And like I said, he has those 10 acres in Vermont now. Up in the hills.